I think it's pretty safe to say that in 2020, the WWE was at a creative worst we've ever seen. 2020 was the worst creative in the history of WWE. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown on Fox suffered historic ratings lows on a weekly basis. Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon sucked the life out of every aspect of WWE programming in 2020. Not one superstar was made outside of Drew McIntyre, and WWE killed the very essence that made NXT the best brand in North America. So you're probably asking, JD, what was good about 2020? I may have to uncover the good, the very few things that were good in 2020 right here on today's show. I will be giving you my top 10 main roster matches of 2020. Also, we talk about Brock Lesnar when he first came into the WWE being the next big thing in World Wrestling Entertainment. A lot of people are wondering who the next Brock Lesnar is going to be. Who is it? If Paul Heyman has anything to say about it, he may have already found the next Brock Lesnar. And when I show you pictures of this individual, you will not believe the similarities. It is unreal. Also, if you didn't like Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt the first time we seen it, if you didn't like it the second time you seen it, you're not gonna like it the third time. WWE's rumored plans for the Royal Rumble for Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. We had an Inferno match. What's the next silly gimmick that Bruce Pritchard is going to unveil for this feud between Orton and The Fiend? All this on the first podcast of 2021, right here on Off the Script.
Delete this man.
Alive with people still I think we all know how good Paul Heyman can be. I think we all know the type of creative Paul Heyman can be if they allow him to be. Now, you know Paul Heyman is aligned with Roman Reigns. You know that he is the on-screen special counsel for Roman Reigns, the tribal chief of the WWE. I'd like to think that Paul Heyman is also a very keen eye on talent. And he may have found the next Brock Lesnar. He may have found the next big thing that could potentially be on his way to WWE if he has anything to say about it. Now, Parker Boudreaux is the name. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that name, but he is an offensive lineman for the UCF Knights. And he's already drawing comparisons to Paul Heyman's Brock Lesnar. And when I show you the picture on screen right now, it is not hard to see why those comparisons are being drawn. Boudreaux, which is no relation to Scarlett Bordeaux on WWE television, Boudreaux tweeted a picture of himself with the caption, 2021 is going to be something special. Paul Heyman then quoted the tweet and said, his tweet is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Save this hashtag hustle tweet for future historical reference. Jim Ross also tweeted a couple of times last year that he was a fan of Bordeaux as well and would love to see him in AEW one day. Now, I don't really know what this kid's future plans are, if they include professional wrestling. But if you looked at the picture, I swear to God, man, it looks like this is Brock Lesnar's illegitimate son. Minus the tattoos all across his arm. That is unbelievable. Now, I could absolutely see this guy being a professional wrestler just based on his body stature. But will he go into that line of work in the future? I don't know. So Paul Heyman, man, always keeping an eye out on the next big thing. And you really can't blame him. It's what the guy does. This is what I do, man. Off the Script, episode 358. Thank you guys very much for joining me on your Saturday evening. It is great to be here for yet another year of the absolute number one podcast in the entire IWC right here on YouTube. Love that I am able to bring this to you on a weekly basis, and love that you guys are continuing the growth and getting the word out there for Off the Script. It's going to be another great year. I predict this will be the greatest year in the history of this very podcast. I wish it was a great year for WWE in 2020, man. When I looked at the news this week, there was absolutely nothing. Nothing in the dirt sheets. No news, nothing to really sink our teeth into. And I know a lot of other people in the community are probably going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing. Talking about predictions. Talking about best matches of the year last year. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today, minus the predictions. Because I don't make predictions. I don't really care to make predictions. I don't personally care about predictions. Whatever happens, happens. I'm here to watch what happens and then criticize, whether it's good, bad, ugly, you name it. So you can go and listen to somebody making predictions. How likely those predictions are going to happen? Not many. Not many. But I'm here to give you the top 10 matches in WWE for the year of 2020, a year that was the worst creative year in the history of WWE. I can make one prediction. Hey, you want a prediction? I predict that 2021 will be worse than 2020 when it comes to WWE creative. That's the only prediction I'm giving you. And it's not even a fucking prediction. Like Paul Heyman says, it's a goddamn spoiler. Because 2018, we thought was bad. 2019 topped it. We thought 2019 was terrible. How could it get any worse? 2020 topped it. WWE's got a nice little fucking trend happening for themselves as far as creative goes. So we're going to talk about the top 10 matches of 2020. And I don't think you will be surprised by my picks. This is main roster only, by the way. I'm not talking about NXT. I'm not talking about AEW. I'm not talking about NXT UK. Outside of AEW, I didn't watch any other show, minus a couple of NXT episodes here and there that I had to because they were special events. But NXT drove me away as a fan, which is sad. So I'm not including NXT because, quite frankly, the last show that I really gave a shit about was TakeOver Portland, and that's when live human beings were still allowed in the venue. So that's that. So if you're wondering, JD, are you going to include NXT or NXT UK? No, I'm not. Because I hate NXT the way it currently sits right now. Main roster only. Got news on Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton going into the Royal Rumble. I got news on Sonya Deville. She made her return to WWE on SmackDown on Friday. Don't know why. Don't know why WWE would do that and not save her for the Royal Rumble, but who am I? The fuck do I know? And then I got the top 10 most disappointing moments as well. This is voted by the fans, by the way. It's not even me, but my opinion is pretty much what the fans think as well. The top 10 most disappointing moments in WWE for 2020. So I figured we would have a little bit of fun with that right here on the show as well. So thank you guys so very much for joining me, man. This is episode 358, the first podcast of 2020. If you are not currently subscribed to the channel, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for, man. Why are you sitting there and not subscribed to the YouTube channel? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. It is imperative you guys hit the bell because when I go live, when I upload videos like this one, you guys will be notified of when it immediately hits the sub feed. So make sure you guys go and do that. Patreon.com/JD from NY206 if you guys want to support the podcast any way you can. There's some great stuff on there that is only exclusive to the Patreon family. So make sure you guys go and do that. You can sign up annually, get yourself a t-shirt, sign up annually, and get yourself a baseball mug. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Also, follow me on social media, at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is the place to be if you guys want to keep up to date on what I do here. Instagram, I'm going to be doing a little bit more IG in 2021 because we got some big plans brewing. And I want you guys to be part of that. And Instagram is going to be a vital part of the growth of this very show. So make sure you guys are following me on both platforms. If you need your masks, masks are still available. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. Go and get your black off-the-script masks. Also, if you guys want t-shirts, bonfire.com is the exclusive home of the off-the-script shop. Bonfire.com. Link is down below in the description of this very video. If you missed anything that I uploaded this week, we got Monday Night Raw, which did great. The live stream on Monday, go and check that out. I was here with my good friend Jesse. We broke it down on Wednesday, and we talked about Brodie Lee, the tribute show to Brodie Lee. Go and check that out. Also, a great show. People were saying it's one of the best off the scripts of the entire year, so go and check that out. And then we did Friday with SmackDown, the first live stream of the new year. Not really much going on there. A pretty boring show by all standards. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown really didn't do much of anything this week, so I'm not surprised by that. WWE starting 2021 just like they ended 2020. Boring. And really nothing of excitement going on heading into their second biggest pay-per-view of the year, which is the Royal Rumble. Anything you missed will be linked down below in the description of this very video. And today's show is sponsored by Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com. Go and get yourself some soap, some shampoo, some toothpaste, some cologne, some deodorant, man. Do not be a general stereotype in which all fans are labeled. Don't be a stereotype, man. Look your best and feel your best going into 2021. Dr. Squatch will help you with that. drsquatch.com. You're going to use code SCRIPT at checkout to save 20% off anything, anytime you want on Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com. And I want to thank them for sponsoring today's podcast right here on episode 358 of OTS. Let's start off with some news. Mixed bag of news. Not much in the way of news, but a mixed bag. You guys might find something of interest in here. Several WWE talent. Now, we don't know who they are. Sean Ross Sapp is very good with this type of thing. He usually releases contract information periodically on Fightful.com. Go and check him out. And go and check those guys over at Fightful out. I don't know who these individuals are. I don't think anybody does, really. And quite frankly, it's none of our business. But it's always interesting as fans to sit here and kind of wonder who's going to be a free agent. How many more years does this guy have on his contract? How many more years does she have on her contract? There are several WWE talent right now employed by the company that have declined new contract offers for 2021. Now, there could be a myriad of reasons why someone would decline a WWE offer. Maybe they're not making enough money. Maybe they don't want to sign a 5-year deal and would rather sign a 2 or 3-year deal. 5 years is a lot to commit to a company that probably will destroy your career and your passion for pro wrestling, which has happened. Everybody that's left that company has said the same exact thing. It's easy to go out there and blast your old boss. But when it happens every single time, and it's always the same excuse, not really an excuse, it's always the same feeling. It's not really all that surprising. It could be the 2, 3, 4, 5 year length of the contract. Maybe someone doesn't want to do 5 years. Obviously, money is a factor. Maybe they feel like they're not making as much money as they feel they should be. Maybe it's creative. Maybe they know WWE hasn't done much with them in the time they've been there, and they don't trust WWE to do anything with them. I hope people are a little keen to the process that if WWE hasn't pushed you already in 2 or 3 years on the main roster and your contract's coming up and then they want to offer you 5 years at whatever price they are offering you, they'll probably overpay for your services just so that you don't go anywhere. But that doesn't mean they want to push you creatively. They'll give you more money thinking that, hey, if they're giving me more money, maybe they got plans for me. No, it doesn't work out that way. It doesn't work out that way. They are just using that tactic to get you to sign so that you don't go anywhere else with no plans to push you. I hope people are really keen on the WWE process nowadays. If they are, get ready for WWE to lose several talent, which may be AEW's gain. I don't know. Could be New Japan's gain. Could be Ring of Honor's gain. Could be Impact's gain. Who knows? So those are the reasons why people may decline new contract offers. According to Fightful Select, several new contracts were offered in mid to late 2020, but they are being viewed as disappointing compared to the high dollar deals WWE was handing out in 2019 and early 2020 when they didn't want people going to AEW. They still don't want people going to AEW. They didn't want people going to AEW then. They don't want people going to AEW now. It's no different. Nowadays, they're just using COVID-19 as an excuse to not pay people, but they still don't want people going to AEW. The situation has reportedly led to at least a half dozen talent to shuffle their feet or straight up refuse a new contract offer. Some said that they were waiting until things get normal in terms of the pandemic slowing down before they ink new deals. They're opting to wait until things get more normal to improve their situation. WWE has been said to be open to this as well, and Fightful has heard of names across each brand that this applies to. Now, it was previously reported this week that Matt Riddle just recently re-signed a new WWE deal, which I assume is for 5 years because that's all they're giving out. It was reported how much the contract he signed was worth, but he did reportedly get them, or it wasn't reported how much the contract he signed was worth, but he did reportedly get them to raise it from the previous $400,000 a year offer. I don't know what they're paying him. They may have raised it to $500,000, $550,000. I don't know. But Matt Riddle re-signed a new WWE deal for everybody hoping that he was going to go back to the independent scene, maybe work New Japan, who was interested in him before he went to NXT. Maybe go to AEW. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be the bodacious barefoot bro on Monday Night Raw. A comedy geek is Matt Riddle, which is sad because he was one of the best things in NXT when NXT was still NXT. Now, I don't know who these talents are. I could throw names at you and maybe guess as to who they are. Maybe it's Ricochet. Maybe it's Aleister Black. Maybe a guy like Andrade who they're not using. They never found any value in Andrade. Maybe it's Shinsuke Nakamura. We don't know. Guys like Humberto Carrillo. They're not being used, right? We don't really know who these names are. Everybody that was being pushed. Apollo Crews is another one. We don't know when his contract's up. He can't be happy. Everybody that was going to be guaranteed an opportunity under Paul Heyman now doesn't have that opportunity, and they've been sitting around because Bruce Pritchard has some vendetta, some agenda against them. because they were Paul Heyman guys. So we don't know. Now, at least a half a dozen talent shuffling their feet. They straight up refused the new contract offer. Some said that they were waiting until things get back to normal. Now, I don't know what that means. The only thing that jumps out at me, and the only thing that really sits on my mind when it comes to waiting until things get back to normal, is the fact that there is no independent scene right now in the world of professional wrestling. There legitimately is nobody right now who's working as a pro wrestler that has anywhere to go but AEW or WWE or Impact. Nobody wants to go to Impact. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. It's not really... Now, to me, anyway, it's not really where you're going to go get your name out there. You might make a couple of bucks over at Impact, but it's not a place where people are going to go and end their career or really get any fame and fortune or spotlight or notoriety. Nobody goes to Impact for those type of things. They usually use Impact as a foundation to build themselves, and then they go somewhere bigger. That's the way it should be, not the other way around. But there's no independency. There's no independency, and there's no Ring of Honor doing anything right now. I don't know who they're giving contracts out to. Everybody's working these empty buildings. All these other independent promotions, they're not doing anything right now. So maybe they want to use these other promotions for leverage. Maybe AEW doesn't want them. Maybe AEW said, listen, we're not going to take everybody that is disgruntled, that is a free agent in WWE. It's either that or stay with WWE, because where else are you going to go? Impact might not have the budget to take everybody either. And Japan, yeah, it's always an option, but the travel restrictions, I'm not sure when they are going to loosen up either. So I don't know who these names are. New contracts being given out. Some people declining. Some people just waiting in the wings to see what happens with the pandemic if it eases up. With the vaccine now being out. I don't know. But Matt Riddle was one of those guys I would hope would leave the WWE because, you know, they treat him like a joke. He's a comedy clown. Ricochet's another one. How do you fuck Ricochet up? Aleister Black. I could sit here and rant on Aleister Black and Ricochet all night long and make it an entire fucking show. I mean, they got to be out of their fucking mind stupid to not do anything with those two guys. They won't move them back down to NXT. And why won't they do that? Because if you do that, then Triple H is going to use them correctly. And if they do that, then they're just admitting failure. Oh, Vince can't get them over, but Triple H can. Bruce can't get them over, but Triple H can. That won't happen. They won't allow that. They know. I hope that those talents that are disgruntled end up leaving the WWE. I really do. Move on. Start over. You gave it a shot. You gave it your best. It was your dream, and your hopes were shattered. It happens. It happens. Not everybody is cut out for the big leagues. I get it. But it's not even a case of that. Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon are both two senile fucking clowns who don't know talent at all. They wouldn't know talent if Jesus Christ himself dropped talent into their fucking laps. We'll see what happens in 2021. I hope for the best. Whoever's a free agent, I hope that they've really come to the realization that WWE just ain't where to be right now. It ain't. It's either fame or fortune and unhappiness, or making money, good money, and being happy with creative freedom. Which do you put more value on? Your creative freedom, your happiness, or WWE's fucking dirty money? You gotta fucking think about it. Think long and hard about it. I hope those in WWE really do and don't give in to the system. WWE's tentative plans for a second gimmick match between Randy Orton and The Fiend will happen at the Royal Rumble. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the report is true, that there will be another gimmick match. Meltzer noted, and I quote, "The tentative idea is to call this match at the Royal Rumble a Firefly Funhouse match." So WWE is going back into the well of garbage that we've already seen. WWE is going back into the well of garbage that we've already seen with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt? Didn't they have a Funhouse match? A Wyatt family compound match? Or a House of Horrors match? Whatever the fuck it was called. Now you're going to do a Firefly Funhouse match. I don't know who's going to be interested in that. Sounds like something cinematic to me. If Bray's in something cinematic, it might actually be good. Because anything Bray Wyatt does as far as a in-ring aspect goes, under this current gimmick, outside of the match with Daniel Bryan, of course, at the Royal Rumble last year in that strap match, has been fucking terrible. I'm not interested in this whatsoever. WWE has done this match before as Wyatt took on John Cena at WrestleMania 36. It was a cinematic match through various segments and not a lot of wrestling. It will be interesting to see whether WWE goes that route or changes things up. Now, it's funny that the report said that from The Observer. I wasn't even thinking that. Why would they go and do that again? What is there to expose on Randy Orton? Why would you do that to Randy Orton, who right now is a regular on WWE TV, who has a feud that he needs to finish up with Edge? Do you want Randy Orton to look weak going into his feud with Edge? Or the conclusion, I should say, in his feud with Edge? John Cena is semi-retired. He's already got one foot out the fucking door. So doing that type of match with John Cena really didn't look bad. John Cena tried to put Bray Wyatt over, and then WWE just fucking killed him anyway after that. So whatever they did at WrestleMania was all for naught. I didn't even think of that when I was reading the report. I swear to God, I was thinking of maybe a House of Horrors match. And I don't know what they got planned. But if it's a House of Horrors match, I would take that over the Firefly Funhouse match. I want to see legitimate match. Something close to being a match. Not a fucking comedy skit. Not some bullshit like we seen at WrestleMania. Though it was creative. I just could have done without it, to be quite honest with you. Orton defeated The Fiend in what they call the first ever Firefly Inferno match, which was pretty much an Inferno match, just a little bit different. It looked a little bit different, but the premise of it was an Inferno match. The first person to light your opponent on fire wins the match. This was at TLC. WWE has kept Wyatt off of television for him selling being burned alive at the event. Then WWE did a skit on Monday Night Raw where Alexa Bliss wanted Randy Orton to light her on fire. He didn't. She kept provoking him. Then the lights went out. She had poured gasoline all over herself. And then he lit a match in the darkness of the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field. He let it burn out, and the screen went to black. So we don't really know if Randy Orton lit a human being on fire on Monday night. We don't know. WWE has the Royal Rumble on January 31st at Tropicana Field. Can't wait. Normally the Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. WWE has fucked up many a Royal Rumble, but it's still my favorite pay-per-view of the year because it just resonates with me as I watch this product on a weekly basis. It brings me back to a day of old. Hearing the buzzer and the whole premise of the Royal Rumble with 30 men, now 30 women as well, going over the top rope, the winner standing tall at the end of the match goes to WrestleMania in the main event to fight for the championship. I love it. I love it. Hopefully WWE does it right this year. But this Orton and Wyatt bullshit, I hope comes to an end. I really do. Now, the better question is, and I raised these questions on Friday when I did the podcast on SmackDown. And if you guys missed that, you can go down in the description and go watch that live stream. It's up on the channel right now. It's right on the main channel page if you go. I raised the question. It's not too early. In fact, it's actually late. WWE should already had Drew McIntyre's opponent in mind for WrestleMania back in October, November. Normally around the Survivor Series is when WWE starts planning out WrestleMania. WWE with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Who is he going to defend the WWE title against? Now, if you look up and down Monday Night Raw, clearly it's not going to be Randy Orton. They've been there, done that. I'm assuming that they're going to go with Edge and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. That's just my feeling. That's my gut instinct on that. Matt Riddle should be a main event guy, but he's not. Instead, he's a comedy fucking clown talking about bro nuts and fucking God knows what pronouns. What a geek. What an absolute fucking geek is Matt Riddle. And I hate to say that because I love him. So it's not Matt Riddle. It's not, should be. It's not Matt Riddle. It's not Randy Orton because they've been there, done that. Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's not a main event guy anymore. Whether you believe that or not, Jeff Hardy is not a main event guy, okay? Keith Lee. Keith Lee's another guy. He's been rumored to win the Royal Rumble, possibly. I would not mind that. But WWE has a lot of resuscitation to do, a lot of rebuilding to do with Keith Lee because they've already ruined him on the main roster, 4 months on the main roster, and the guy doesn't feel special. He was touted as limitless, and WWE has done everything to go against the very meaning of that fucking word. Don't get me started on Keith Lee. Limited Keith Lee. They brought him back to the Performance Center because he needed to go through retraining because Vince McMahon wasn't pleased on how he was working as a big man. That's not what brought him to the fucking dance working as a big man. He's not Mark Henry. He's not Vader. Let him do what brought him to the dance. Seriously. He needs to do what he did in NXT against guys like Dijakovic, against guys like Adam Cole. He needs to do that. I don't understand why we need Keith Lee to work as a big man, slow and brooding and very methodical. I mentioned this on the Raw review. People thought I was fucking crazy. I don't know what the fuck you're watching, but I know what I'm watching. Keith Lee, it looks like he fucking hates his job. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like he lost all of his soul working on Monday Night Raw, but that's what Monday Night Raw does. It takes a great Keith Lee and makes him into a fucking loser. Keith Lee needs to be doing the dives over the top rope, and Keith Lee needs to be doing the pounces and the BBCs and the fucking spirit bombs, and he needs to be doing the moonsaults off the top rope. Why is he not doing that? But people want him to win the Royal Rumble. I wouldn't mind it, but you got to give me that Keith Lee back before we start talking about him winning the fucking Royal Rumble. And also, I don't think Keith Lee getting a title shot against Drew McIntyre on Monday this week for Legends Night really means that WWE is too keen on doing that match again at WrestleMania. I would rather them do a fresh match for Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. So it's not going to be Keith Lee. I would be surprised if it's Keith Lee. So Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton, Keith Lee out of the equation. Bobby Lashley is another one. Bobby Lashley is the United States champion. WWE could easily, listen, they could do this if they want. Bobby Lashley could win the Royal Rumble. He'd have to drop the United States title to Matt Riddle because that's who it looks like he's feuding with. He'd have to drop the United States title to a Matt Riddle, go on and win the Royal Rumble, but they've already done that last year. And who wants to see that done again? Decent little match, but it's not a WrestleMania match, especially for the WWE title. So I don't think it's going to be Bobby Lashley, but who the fuck knows? Vince McMahon has been protecting Bobby Lashley more than a lot of people in WWE for whatever reason. Maybe they're saving him for Brock Lesnar. I don't know. But they're definitely protecting Bobby Lashley, and that's something that I, A, don't think is going to happen, and B, to me, it's not a WrestleMania match. So Bobby Lashley, add him to that list of names. Who else is there? Who else is there? WWE could trot out The Undertaker, but my God, that would make all of November look absolutely worthless. Drew McIntyre said that match was already supposed to happen. Drew McIntyre has requested that match many a time as one of his dream matches. The Undertaker, I believe I read somewhere over the last couple years, also wanted to work with Drew McIntyre at a WrestleMania. Does that happen? Is WrestleMania The Undertaker's true one last ride for the WWE title? I don't know. I mentioned John Cena. John Cena could easily come back. I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but John Cena can come back. He lives in the greater Tampa area, if I'm not mistaken, and he could come back. He could chase number 17. Drew McIntyre has pretty much run through everybody on Monday Night Raw. There's really nobody else for him to run through. John Cena can come back, challenge him for number 17, make that the entire story, and John Cena could come back, lose at WrestleMania, and really pass the torch. It would be a true passing of the torch moment for Drew McIntyre if he beats John Cena at WrestleMania. Beating Brock Lesnar was not a passing of the torch moment. Beating Brock Lesnar was solidifying his name at the top. Because that's all WWE thinks of Brock Lesnar. Oh, let's build Brock Lesnar up as an unstoppable savage, have somebody take him down, and they'll be a bigger superstar for it. Now, granted, Drew McIntyre was, but he's not somebody that is passing the torch to somebody like a John Cena is Brock Lesnar. So I could absolutely see that. In fact, I've advocated for that match to happen. I would not be upset if that was the direction WWE wanted to go for WrestleMania in regards to Drew McIntyre. Could be somebody like an Adam Cole coming up from NXT. I don't know. I doubt it. Adam Cole winning the Royal Rumble, challenging Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania for the WWE title, really solidifying his name already out of the gate, which I think he should be. Depending on who you talk to, if you're Bruce and Vince McMahon, maybe not, but I look at Adam Cole as a WrestleMania main event guy for decades to come. That could be great. And they have a history. Adam Cole made his debut against Drew McIntyre in Brooklyn at TakeOver years ago. Play that up. If Bruce wants to, but he doesn't even know how to spell the words NXT. Anyway, Adam Cole's another one. But the only other one on the active roster right now is Bray Wyatt. And they've already teased something with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre for The Fiend. Seems like it could have been a triple threat match going into TLC. They kind of stopped that. They went the McIntyre-Orton route without The Fiend. Then they had Orton lose and then move on to The Fiend. So now Bray Wyatt seems to be taking out Randy Orton. Maybe they're doing it in stages. Maybe Bray Wyatt's taking out Orton, and then he's going to attack Drew McIntyre, and that's going to be the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. I hope to God not. That just doesn't sit well with me at all. A, it's not a WrestleMania event caliber main event match, and B, I think the majority of us are anyway. I mean, if you got Bray Wyatt on the mind and think he's a WWE champion and should be WWE champion, you might be a complete imbecile. But Drew McIntyre and Randy, that was something that happened. Randy moved on to Bray. Bray's going to beat Randy in this rematch, no doubt about it. He can move on to the WWE title. It's not a WrestleMania main event match at all. And it's a lose-lose situation for Bray Wyatt. If he wins the WWE title, he's not really a champion. He's not the type of guy you give a championship to and defend the championship. He's had some of the worst matches of all in 2020 alone. And if he loses, then what's the fucking point? Are they bringing him back with a new gimmick? Are they going to really bring him back with a new gimmick? I don't know. And if they do, he can't lose. It's like we're going right back to square one with this fucking guy. Introduce him with this new evil character, this more intense, more evil character, after he got burned to a crisp, and then he's going to lose. Drew McIntyre may have no opponents lined up right now for WrestleMania. It may be Bray Wyatt. It could be at the end of the day Bray Wyatt. I don't know. So we'll see what happens, but it looks like Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt are going one-on-one again at the Royal Rumble in a gimmick match, their second gimmick match, and Meltzer says it will be a Firefly Funhouse match. Whatever that is it going to be similar to what we've seen at WrestleMania with John Cena? Are we going to get something like a House of Horrors match? I don't know. Only time will tell. Kairi Sane. It's been a long time since I mentioned that name. Kairi Sane is actually having issues with WWE officials over approving an appearance at a Stardom show. Now, I don't really know what her role is in the WWE. According to sources, she's an ambassador for WWE in Japan. Now, she's no longer wrestling for the WWE. She is, though, still under contract with the WWE. She moved back to Japan to be with her husband last year. Since this decision was made, Sane hasn't been able to appear for other promotions such as Stardom, for example, which is a company that she has worked for before joining WWE. Dave Meltzer reported recently in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Kairi Sane recently visited WWE's Japan office for approval of an appearance at Stardom's 10th anniversary show. The event takes place at Budokan Hall on March 3rd. Meltzer said that meeting didn't go anywhere. No other details on the conversation between Sane and WWE officials in Japan were mentioned. Stardom wants to bring back stars from the past for this show. Kairi Sane mentioned after she had returned to Japan that she had become an ambassador for WWE. So it's going to be interesting to see if a second meeting does take place between WWE officials in Japan and Kairi Sane, and whether she can convince WWE to allow her to do this appearance. Listen, man, I don't work for the WWE, but if I did, I would absolutely not even want to be bothered with fucking irrelevant bullshit like this. All you're doing is creating a fucking headache and creating stress for the sake of creating headaches and stress. She's not in the United States anymore. Who's going to go out and watch Kairi Sane over in Stardom? Who gives a shit? If Stardom wants to bring back fans to their shows, and they want to have this anniversary show, and Kairi Sane to be a part of this anniversary show, then let Kairi Sane be a part of the anniversary show. Nobody knows what she's going to be doing on that show. Maybe she's just going to make a special appearance. Maybe it's to wrestle. If it's either one of those things, if it's both of those things, who cares? She's not wrestling. She may be under contract, but she's not wrestling for the WWE anymore. Instead of holding her off the show and saying, no, she can't do it, why don't you let her go on the show and use her star power that she's accumulated in WWE and go to the Stardom show and say, hey, WWE superstar Kairi Sane shows up at the Stardom show. You could use that for whatever you need to when you make video packages or highlights of Kairi Sane on your end. I don't really understand the problem here. She's not wrestling. She's not in the States. Who the fuck cares what she does over in Japan? Hardly anybody is going to see it. You're only doing that to abuse your power. I don't really understand these types of decisions. She's having issues. So Meltzer says that if she does talk to WWE officials again, she may be able to convince WWE to allow her to do this appearance. I don't know. I'm not holding my fucking breath. It was in the news. There's a lot of Kairi Sane supporters out there, so I figured there may be people watching this fucking show that watch Stardom. I have no fucking idea. You might not have even known that information. That's why I'm talking about it. I don't personally care, and I don't really see the big deal as to why she can't wrestle on the fucking show. Just let her fucking wrestle. Somebody that I don't want wrestling, ever, is Eva Marie. Eva Marie is going to be the bane of my existence. Absolutely one of the most horrendous in-ring performers of our generation. And she may be on her way back to the WWE. Now, I got news on when she could be returning. This is the latest update on Eva Marie's return to the WWE. Back in October, it was reported that Eva Marie had signed a new deal with the WWE to make a return to the company. At the time, Marie underwent medical testing in order to enter the Thunderdome for TV events during that specific week. WWE then reached a deal with Eva Marie during the week of September 20th. Fightful is reporting that at one point, Eva Marie was internally scheduled to appear on Monday's Raw this week for Legends Night. As it stands, there is no definitive word on whether that will actually happen, as she's not been advertised for the show in advance. She could absolutely show up. I don't know why you would wait for the Royal Rumble on Eva Marie. Eva Marie having a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble actually does bad for the Royal Rumble. She ain't winning it. I don't expect her to even throw a fucking punch correctly. Never mind throw anybody over the fucking top rope. Why would you waste one of the 30 spots in the Royal Rumble on Eva fucking Marie? I don't get it. This is not a Sonya Deville situation. Why they wasted Sonya Deville on Friday is just ludicrous. It doesn't make any creative sense. It really don't. That is the woman that should have had a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble. What you did with her is just waste her return. Now everybody knows she's back and there's no surprise. And that's somebody I could actually see winning the Royal Rumble and having a breakout moment in the Royal Rumble. Eva Marie is best used for an appearance on a Monday Night Raw. In the back, showing up. It's been rumored that she's been the lady on the other side of the camera accepting those roses from Angel Garza. If she's going to be a valet for Angel Garza, by all means, that may be the right role for her. But if she's in the fucking ring, God help us all. Honestly, the women's division right now on Raw is fucking awful. And you're going to add Eva Marie to that. I don't see how you're making the division better. She may have things that she wants to accomplish, but what you're going to accomplish is me picking up the remote control and even more so, finding something else to watch. The report adds that Marie was backstage at the December 14th edition of Raw. She was dressed up to do promos at the event from Tropicana Field. There's no word on when these promos will air. Last month, PW Insider reported that Marie had not been assigned to a brand yet, but was on the roster. That may be legit information, but I mean, they call her All Red Everything. She's clearly not going to the blue brand. She was also at the Performance Center several times. To do what? I don't know. Hopefully she knows how to wrestle, man. If she knows a little bit, I'd be shocked. The belief at the time was that she was likely there to train, as she hasn't worked a match since July 10, 2016, and that was at a live event against Becky Lynch. Folks, Eva Marie has not wrestled since July 10th of 2016, and you want me to sit here and be excited about Eva Marie returning to the WWE. Valet or bust. Simple. That's the type of woman that could absolutely give Garza the push he needs to be a solid act on the main roster, because WWE clearly doesn't have any direction for Angel Garza. Zelina Vega's not there. He doesn't really need a valet, but they've already fucked him up this year. Maybe adding somebody with the presence of Eva Marie could help him. That I could see. I would have no problem with that as long as she stays out of the ring. Maybe she was there to take promo classes. I don't know. But her in the ring, guys, we already have Monday Night Raw filled with Peyton Royce, Lacey Evans, right? I think, on Raw. Nia Jax, and Dana Brooke. You want to add Eva Marie to that equation on Monday night. How to make the women's division worse on Monday night. All Red Everything is the answer. Once again, guys, I just want to thank Dr. Squatch for sponsoring today's episode of Off the Script here for episode 358. If you guys go to drsquatch.com, you could actually subscribe to their service and save an instant 15% off and you could actually apply our code SCRIPT to save an additional 20% off. And they are amazing, man. Believe me. As seen in Men's Health, Birchbox, Men's Journal, GQ, and Esquire, everything is organic, from handmade bar soaps to hair care, deodorant, and toothpaste. Let me tell you something, man. I haven't been this in love with soap and the type of product like Dr. Squatch presents in quite a while. And I really mean that, man. I would not steer you guys wrong in any which way. And I always use the statement of, oh, wrestling fans are always generalized and really stereotyped as, you know, old and fat and smelly and immature. Don't fit into those stereotypes at all. Dr. Squatch is going to keep those people away and at bay. You're not going to be hearing comments like that when using Dr. Squatch, man. Listen, you're going to be smelling your best. You're going to be feeling your best. You're going to be looking your best with Dr. Squatch. That's code SCRIPT at checkout, man. drsquatch.com. Believe me, I would not steer you guys wrong, and I want to thank them for supporting the podcast right here on Saturday afternoon for episode 358 of OTS. Let's get into the weekly shows, man. Not much happened on the weekly shows. It was all about Brodie Lee this week. It was all about Brodie Lee on Wednesday. Start off with SmackDown. SmackDown ratings dipped below 2 million after that Christmas Day episode that everybody was going crazy over. And I told you, don't go crazy over it, man. They dropped below 2 million for the New Year's Day episode. It drew 1.915 million viewers, which was down from last Friday's show on Christmas Day of 3.336 million viewers on Fox. The first hour saw the show pull in a 1.996, and hour two did a 1.834. The show did 4.097 million viewers in hour one last week, and then did 2.574 million viewers in the second hour. They lost about 40% of their viewership from hour one to hour two. And now they're back to where they usually belong, in the 1.9 realm. It also pulled in an average of 0.50 in the 18 to 49 demographic, which was good enough for WWE to get number 2 for the night. That is down from a 0.95 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic the show did last week, coming out of that NFL game on Christmas Day. It has to be noted that the reason for such a great increase in last week's numbers was because it aired right after the NFL game between the Saints and Vikings on Fox. It was the highest viewed episode of SmackDown for 2020. Now, as far as that, I don't even want to talk about the ratings from Christmas Day because right now they're fucking irrelevant. NFL, WWE had the lead-in from the NFL. WWE did all the right things on that episode on Christmas Day. They gave you a feel-good moment with Big E. They hyped 3 championship matches before the show even aired or when the show was taped. They led in with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens in a steel cage match for the Universal Championship immediately following that Saints and Vikings game on Fox. So if you are a casual viewer, or not even a casual viewer, if you are somebody that doesn't watch pro wrestling anymore, I'm going to stay and watch. Hey, look at Roman. Who's this guy? He looks legit. He's the champion. Steel cage. Look at this. Look at this shit. So clearly WWE did all the right things. They had a women's tag team triple threat match. They had an IC title match between Big E and Sami Zayn. It was a very direct and focused show. I wish WWE would do more shows like that. Storylines were driven. Great in-ring action. Not one single complaint from that show. It's just a good show. Just a good show. Now this week, it wasn't a good show. And it didn't even come close to what they did on Christmas Day. Bayley and Carmella defeated Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Sasha Banks was pinned on television as the SmackDown Women's Champion. I didn't know where they were going with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. I thought for a second week in a row, I'm like, all right. Normally, if WWE is teaming up somebody with the champion, then that could be an indication of where the championship feud is going. So I thought Bianca may have been used in this situation to get Bianca and Sasha at the Royal Rumble. Then WWE had Sasha Banks pinned, interference, but pinned nonetheless, from Carmella. And that more than likely is going to be the Royal Rumble rematch. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. WWE announced. I said this on Friday. I thought the Street Profits, Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, were definitely going to be a tag team title match at the Royal Rumble. They're doing that next week. They could very well do Sasha and Carmella any week between now and the Royal Rumble. I don't think that would be wise, because then that would only leave WWE just a couple of weeks to find another opponent for Sasha Banks, and you don't want to do that. I would rather them start fresh after she finishes one and then moves on to the other. Not finish one and then move on to something new 2 weeks before the fucking pay-per-view. I actually want build. I want investment. That's opposite of what I just mentioned. So Bianca Belair, she could win the Royal Rumble. I'm at a point right now where WWE is treading very thin. They're walking a very thin line with Miss Bianca Belair. Any more of these fuck finishes, and I'm going to be one angry New York clown. Seriously. Bayley, I could see Bayley winning the Royal Rumble. In fact, I would actually call for Bayley to win the Royal Rumble. So Bianca could get some build, some momentum, and then give her the reins at SummerSlam. That's just me, though. What they do probably will be the worst of all ideas, but that's what I would do. Big E defeated Baron Corbin in 3 minutes by DQ because Sami Zayn was on commentary. Sami Zayn came in and attacked Big E after he gave Baron Corbin the big ending, which led to Big E and Apollo Crews coming out to make the save because it was a 2-on-1 advantage there with Zayn and Corbin beating up Big E. Apollo Crews came out to make the save. Then they made the tag team match between Big E and Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin ended up walking away from Sami Zayn, leaving Sami Zayn in a 2-on-1 handicap match, quite honestly. That's what it resulted in, with Apollo Crews giving him a spin-out, sit-out powerbomb. And that's pretty much it. Big E mixing it up with Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, and Baron Corbin. I said it on Friday. I'm going to say it here again. That is fine for a little bit. But you got to move him on to bigger and better things and bigger opponents. If you want to get him over, you want to get the title over, the IC title over, it can't be against Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin and Apollo fucking Crews, okay? Seth Rollins versus Big E is your WrestleMania IC title match. No questions asked. You want Big E to be over? You want Big E to be a main event guy? You want the IC title to be in the position where it looks legit again? Somewhat. Until WWE fucks it up again, he needs to beat big named opponents. Seth Rollins is a big named opponent. Kevin Owens defeated Jey Uso in the main event. Obviously, the ending of SmackDown saw Roman Reigns throw Kevin Owens off the Thunderdome. I quite enjoyed that. WWE gave an update on Kevin Owens, says he's got some spinal contusions and he was taken to a medical facility. All bullshit kayfabe storyline. He'll be fine by the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan and Otis working their hips, doing the fucking Macarena. You think I'm joking? You think I sit here and I try to be funny because I'm a funny guy? This is as serious as a fucking heart attack, man. Otis and Daniel Bryan with Chad Gable were doing the fucking Macarena on SmackDown. And then before that, Daniel Bryan was thrusting his hips into Otis. Yes, his pelvic area was bouncing off of Otis's backside on SmackDown, but this is the guy that I want to win the Royal Rumble. Doesn't look like a Royal Rumble winner to me. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they should not be putting Daniel Bryan with Otis and Chad Gable's comedy garbage. Bryan and Otis defeated Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. It just looks like Goldberg is going to win the Royal Rumble. And if that happens, get ready, folks. Get ready. I have a terrible feeling about the Royal Rumble, man. I swear to God, there's 3 names in my mind. One of them is the right choice. I swear to Christ, one of them is the right choice. Daniel Bryan's the right choice. Goldberg, and then a dark horse, terrible pick, would be Jinder Mahal. I forgot to mention him when I was talking about the rundown of Drew McIntyre opponents. God forbid, right? Oh, yeah, well, let's do the 3MB storyline. Who gives a shit? Really? Really? 3 guys in 3MB, and both of them were losers outside of Drew McIntyre. You want to feud Drew McIntyre, who clearly is head and shoulders above everybody else, with Jinder Mahal? Watch it happen now. I just put it out there in the atmosphere. That was SmackDown, folks. Some show we had, huh? Sonya Deville. She returned on this episode of SmackDown. In fact, I don't know why. I mentioned it before. I don't know why. Her return was actually kept secret from everybody. I don't know what was so fucking secretive. You did nothing with her. She showed up walking around in a suit, and that's all we seen. Sonya Deville wasn't seen since SummerSlam. Then she reappeared this week on Friday Night SmackDown. By the way, at SummerSlam, a match with Mandy Rose, which was a loser leaves town match. I pray to God that Bruce Pritchard is penning right now a reason why this woman was reinstated. All you have to do is give me the why as to why she was reinstated. It's very simple. This is what it means to be a creative writer. Seriously. I mean, that's in the job description. You creatively write, and you tell me stories. Not have someone show up on fucking TV and then just have me come up with some fucking bullshit reason as to why she's back on my own. Like I'm supposed to write my own fucking storylines. Ringside News has learned that Sonya Deville's return to television was kept under wraps. Let's put Bruce Pritchard on the fucking wraps, huh? Not only was it kept under wraps, but not a lot of people knew about it. And Sonya Deville showed up on SmackDown to the surprise of everybody on Friday night. Deville's former best friend and rival on the roster, Mandy Rose, is now on Raw. Rose and Deville, and by the way, Mandy Rose moved over to Monday Night Raw to team with catering. She's getting that catering experience over on Monday Night Raw, man. Her teaming with catering. You know who catering is. I don't have to explain this to you. Dana Brooke. Who? You heard me. Want me to sit here and say it twice, as if once is not bad enough. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, I would like to see back together in some way, shape, or form, whether it's kind of tag team partners, not really trusting each other, but still friendly with each other like Sasha and Bayley were towards the end. Or maybe it could be a future title program down the line. Who knows? Sonya Deville has spoken in the past about how she wants to take on a Daddy Deville character. She definitely dressed the part this week on SmackDown. I don't know what the fuck that means, but we'll see. She's coming into her own. It's nice to see. Friday Night SmackDown this week was also the first time fans had seen Sonya Deville on television since her Stalkers trial actually started. Deville had, if you guys remember, a scary experience in August. She now has a permanent injunction against this fucking geek stalker, this low-life scum stalker whose trial is expected to last well into the summer of 21. I mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it here again. I don't know why they brought her back to television. She didn't do anything. If you're going to bring her back, you better tell me the why. Okay? I would have saved her for the Royal Rumble. She's somebody that I could see win the Royal Rumble. She's somebody that I could see have a big breakout moment in the Royal Rumble. But you brought her back to television 4 weeks before the Royal Rumble, where all surprises tend to happen anyway, just to walk backstage in the hallways of Tropicana Field. For what? For what? In typical WWE fashion, they normally don't follow up on this type of thing, so I fully expect WWE to not even mention Sonya Deville on Friday's show. I would have saved her for the Royal Rumble, but they wanted a big surprise for the first episode of 2021. Ha! There you go, Sonya Deville. Do you got plans for her? Probably not. Bruce and plans in the same sentence? What am I, dreaming? By the way, SmackDown next week. I mentioned this before as well. Apparently, Big E and Apollo Crews is now official for the Intercontinental title. Open challenge, like we've never seen that one before. I thought Bruce was giving us fresh ideas on Friday. Fresh, like fucking 3-week-old fucking bread left open on the kitchen counter. At the end of this week's Talking Smack, it was confirmed that the Street Profits will defend their tag team titles against Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode on Friday's show. I don't know why. What happens then? Do the Profits lose the titles only to win them back at the Royal Rumble? This wouldn't be a fucking issue if you didn't have only 2 tag teams on SmackDown and 1 on Monday night. I couldn't give a single shit about this tag team title match. My God, I may actually fucking flip the channel and not even care. Guy Fieri, I'm sure, will be in fucking somewhere Colorado eating a beautiful fucking steak and smoking a cigar on Triple D. And I gotta watch fucking Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins fight Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode on SmackDown. For a pair of titles that actually have nothing of value. I don't know why they're doing this now. Don't you think you should develop a fucking story between these two? Create some engaging television that I could maybe invest my time into and then actually, possibly, maybe, give a shit about the match at the Royal Rumble? Then the Street Profits could win, move on to the Usos, maybe? Guarantee you, Ziggler and Roode win the titles, the Profits win them back at some point between now and WrestleMania, or then in WrestleMania, and then the Usos come in and take the titles from the Profits, doing what exactly? Montez Ford, by the way, on SmackDown said he won with Angelo Dawkins the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles in 2020. Now, I don't know where he's getting his information from, but they won the Monday Night Raw tag team titles and then were handed the SmackDown tag team titles. If you guys remember, Adam Pearce had the New Day and the Street Profits drafted to opposite brands as champions and then asked them to swap the championships instead of, I don't know, merge the divisions. Instead of merging the tag team divisions. Yeah, let's trade titles. That'll solve all problems because we're a bunch of lazy fucking pricks. So you got 2 title matches next week. Oh joy, oh joy. SmackDown, watchable? I doubt it. AEW. Ratings really don't matter for Wednesday night, but I'm going to read them anyway because some people out there are genuinely curious to know what the ratings were for Brodie Lee's tribute. 977,000 viewers. They easily topped 1 million with replay and DVR added in. I would not be shocked if it was about 1.4, 1.5 million in total for AEW Dynamite for the week. 977,000 viewers. AEW was up. NXT was down. AEW took the win, but like I said, it really doesn't fucking matter because it's all about Brodie and paying respects to that man who unfortunately had passed away last week at the age of 41. AEW, 977, NXT, 586. Last week, AEW drew 775, while NXT drew 698,000. The top 150 shows on cable have not been released yet. There's no word yet on where both shows ranked on the charts or any other breakdowns in the demographics outside of the key demo. When that information is released, obviously, I'll let you guys know as soon as I can, as soon as Wednesday's episode of Dynamite, which will start their New Year's smash for the next 2 weeks. AEW saw Orange Cassidy, Cody Rhodes, and number 10 in the main event defeat Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Will Hobbs. This was a match that was booked by Brodie Lee Jr. because Orange Cassidy and Cody Rhodes and number 10, Preston Vance, is that young man's favorite wrestler. Number 10 was his favorite in the Dark Order, obviously outside his father, and Cody Rhodes and Orange Cassidy are two of his favorite wrestlers on the AEW roster. He made that match. It was titled the Brodie Lee Jr. Dream Match. Awesome. The ending of that match saw Cody Rhodes cut a very emotional promo at the end, and Tony Khan came out with the TNT Championship. Amanda, Brodie's wife, and Preston Vance, number 10, was out there with Brodie Lee Jr. They placed Brodie Lee and his ring gear in the ring, the center of the ring with a spotlight on it. I believe it was his boots. Placed a bandana over the boots, and he stood there with Tony Khan presenting him the TNT Championship, and he labeled Brodie Lee Jr. the TNT Champion for life. And it's my understanding that they're actually retiring the current model of the TNT title in memory of Brodie Lee, and they're creating a completely new design for the TNT title. Should be very interesting. As soon as I get any word for you guys on what that may possibly look like, I'll fill you in right here, man. And AEW, I urge you to go out and watch the exclusive, the bonus footage that they released at the end of that show. Very emotional stuff. It went viral, and it was just a beautiful tribute to Brodie Lee, man. One of the best tribute shows that you could possibly ever watch if you're a fan of professional wrestling, and something like this unfortunately happens. Jesse said it best when him and I did the show on Wednesday. We haven't felt this type of emotion for one of the current athletes on WWE or AEW in this type of circumstance. In this instance, Brodie Lee, we haven't felt this type of way since the passing of Owen Hart. Some of you might mention Eddie Guerrero, but Owen Hart, to me, man, that hit all of us so deeply. And I feel like this for many reasons. The fact that he had so much potential, so much promise. He was only on his way up. He left the WWE to go somewhere else because they didn't believe him. Tony believed him. Cody believed him. Kenny, the Bucks. Everybody believed him. Gave him the opportunity. Gave him the exalted one role. Had great matches with Moxley. Had great matches with Cody. Had that great, memorable ending to Dynamite, which will go down as one of the best Dynamite endings of all time, where he laid out Cody and Anna Jay laid out Brandy, with him dropping the remnants of the old, unfinished TNT title across Cody Rhodes as that show went off the air, beating Cody Rhodes in 3 minutes for the TNT title. Shocking moment. It's just all of that wrapped up into one, and then you take his age into effect. 41 years old, man. It's still shocking. Even now that I'm talking about it, it's still shocking that he's not even here. You know? I urge you guys to go and watch that clip on YouTube. AEW uploaded it to the YouTube account, and the tribute show was beautiful. That main event was beautiful. The Young Bucks and Colt Cabana defeated Matt Hardy and Private Party. Anna Jay and Tay Conti defeated Penelope Ford and Britt Baker. Anna Jay looked really good. Lance Archer, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno defeated Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and Blade. This is where Eric Rowan, a.k.a. Eric Redbeard, came out and helped aid Lance Archer, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno. Actually, that was fucking awesome. I believe it was in the next match. I'm sorry, not that match. It was Adam Page, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver defeating MJF, Santana Ortiz. That's where Eric Redbeard, a.k.a. Eric Rowan, came out and made the save. It was awesome. It was awesome. Just to see him back, honoring his friend. And a lot of people were like, oh, is he going to be in the Dark Order? Is he going to replace Brodie Lee right now in the Dark Order? Is he signed to AEW? Dave Meltzer talked about Eric Rowan and his status, and he was there simply to honor his friend, and that was it. And like I said, Lance Archer, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno defeated Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and The Blade. So that was a very emotional, awesome episode of AEW Dynamite. NXT saw Bronson Reed defeat Isaiah Swerve Scott. Grizzled Young Veterans defeated Breezango. Mercedes Martinez won a squash match over Valentina Feroz. Don't know who that is, but apparently WWE hyped her up. So I guess she's going to be one of the things that WWE pushes on television. Pete Dunne defeated Roderick Strong. Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado, yes, the Lucha House Party are on NXT. I know I mentioned this once before. I don't know if WWE is just lifting my ideas now, but I did mention that weeks ago. And I know Jesse was on the show with me as well when I mentioned that at some point when him and I reviewed NXT. They defeated Legado del Fantasma. Now Gran Metalik is getting a title match at New Year's Evil against the leader, Santos Escobar. It's nice to see Legado del Fantasma mixing it up with other luchadors for the sake of what they're pushing as far as their storyline goes. Just fixing the way of the luchador. Mirroring the luchador that you see it now and reclaiming it in their own image. Revising it in their own image. I know I push this. It's just very funny that it's actually happening now on NXT. And by the way, Metalik defeated The Miz on Monday Night Raw. Metalik getting a title match has nothing to do with him beating The Miz. WWE just needs to main roster-ish NXT up a bit. That's all it is. Johnny Gargano defeated Leon Ruff in the main event. Now you know why they drew 580 fucking people. 80,000 people. Sorry. Finn Balor called out Kyle O'Reilly. Damian Priest brawled with Karrion Kross. Balor will probably beat Kyle O'Reilly again. Don't know what happens to the Undisputed Era. Damian Priest in no way, shape, or form is beating Karrion Kross. And WrestleMania weekend, Karrion Kross takes his title back that he never lost. And then WWE also announced the return of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Adam Cole and Roderick Strong will represent the Undisputed Era in the Tag Team Classic. What WWE does to fill out the remaining 7 slots, I have no fucking idea. Their tag team division is just as bad as the main roster. It's going to be interesting. AEW warns of fake accounts pretending to be members of the Huber family. Brodie Lee's passing was devastating to everybody in the world of pro wrestling. Family is grieving, but an imposter account was created claiming to be Brodie Lee Jr. and Amanda, Brodie Lee's wife. She reacted on Instagram where she shut down the rumor about this fake account. As of this writing, the fake account for Brodie Lee Jr. has been taken down on Twitter. Thank God. AEW also posted a warning to fans. Any official AEW account will be shared through their social media. If there is ever an official, real account for anyone associated with AEW, it would be promoted and followed by AEW. Beware of individuals pretending to be members of the Huber family. This is disgusting, number one. And if you are this individual, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Clearly, this guy has no life, no hobbies, no friends, no wife, no girlfriend, no nothing. He sits behind his computer screen in a dark room, and he's pretending to be the child of a dead pro wrestler that just passed away, that broke the hearts of everybody in the community, and you want to sit there and you want to troll his family, who right now is still grieving. People like that fucking sicken me, man. People like that don't deserve the air that is fucking free and floating out there. Honestly. Go away. Drop dead. You fucking piece of shit. Disgusting. Twitter is fucking disgusting. It really is. Monday Night Raw. Talk about disgusting. Monday Night Raw, their ratings were up. Am I reading this right? Do I need fucking bifocals? Raw rating is up. Showbuzz Daily reports that the episode on Monday drew an average of 1.769 million viewers. Bruce and his job stay safe for yet another week. Bruce Pritchard. This is up from the 1.691 million viewers the show did a week ago. This marks the ratings that WWE drew for the show being up for a second consecutive week. I mean, when you draw 1.51, it's got to be up. WWE is expected to get a big boost in viewership next week for the Legends Night episode of Raw. Yes, because that's going to fix the ratings Oh, look, we're trending up. Look, we got 3 weeks of going up. Now, I did this last week. Their ratings have ultimately gone down over the last couple of years when they did these types of gimmick shows. They went from drawing 5s to 4s to 3s. So, WWE, listen, I'm making a bold prediction right here, right now. When I talk about this particular segment on the show next week, I guarantee you the show is not going to break 3. They'll be in that 2.5 to 2.9 range. Guarantee it. And I'm even being generous with that. Because, everybody's out there wanting to watch Alicia Fox on Monday Night Raw. Oh, my God, man. You gotta be fucking kidding me, man. You gotta be kidding me. Watch all the geeks out there, man. All the Foxy clan, right? Shaking your tails, right? I want to see all these geeks, man. All these low-life, pimply-faced fucking slobs. These virgins out there. I want to see them. I want to see them claim that. Oh, the reason why the show broke a rating, got the highest rating in the last year on Raw is because Alicia Fox. Sure thing. Sure thing. I'm more of a legend than Alicia Fox is, man. Give me a break. Give me a break. Holy shit. Josh Matthews is more of a fucking legend than Alicia Fox. Are you fucking serious? Oh my goodness, man. There's my Alicia Fox fucking dig for the evening. Anyway. They went up against Monday Night Football. Bills and Patriots. 7.337 million viewers. They were even down. That's a fucking terrible rating for Monday Night Football, man. But I guess everybody is just waiting for the playoffs. 18 to 49 demo saw 0.56, 0.52, and 0.47 in hour 3. The hourly breakdown is as follows: 1.886, 1.783, and 1.638. Monday Night Raw was as follows. Keith Lee, limited Keith Lee, by the way, defeated Sheamus in a number 1 contenders match. Now he goes on to wrestle Drew McIntyre for the WWE title on Legends Night. It must be great to be Keith Lee, man, used as a pawn to get us Drew McIntyre and Sheamus for the WWE title. Greg Metalik defeated The Miz. The Miz, by the way, was given back his Money in the Bank briefcase, further solidifying that the Money in the Bank briefcase is just as valuable as the 24/7 title. Thank you, Bruce. AJ Styles defeated Elias in what I thought was a too long of a match. Charlotte Flair defeated Nia Jax by disqualification because Shayna Baszler had the right idea and wanted to give the cure for the clutch to Charlotte Flair. Mustafa Ali, and yes, I don't pronounce it the other way, defeated Ricochet. I've seen some geeks. Oh, well, imagine being JD pronunciating Mustafa Ali's name wrong. Who gives a shit? I'm not Mike Rome. I could say what I want here. Randy Orton. He appeared on Alexa's playground. Did he burn her alive? I don't know. I wish he burned this fucking show to the ground. Never mind Alexa Bliss. She could actually stay. The Hurt Business defeated the New Day and the Hardy Bros because that was doomed to fail from the get-go, right? They did tease Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley for the United States title, though. And Shayna Baszler defeated Catering because Catering stole the last 2 Entenmann's cookies in the back. And Shayna Baszler was upset. Apparently they were Milanos. Oh, that's Pepperidge Farm. Entenmann's whatever. Who gives a shit? Titus, he was lazy, man. It's the holidays. He went out and bought some store-bought shit. Entenmann's and fucking Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm even fucking knows himself that Dana Brooke is fucking terrible. Moving on. Pepperidge Farm knows a lot, bro. He does. Alicia Fox is terrible. Pepperidge Farm even knows Alicia Fox is not a legend, man. He knows Eva Marie is fucking terrible. Pepperidge Farm himself is fucking terrified of what's to come on Monday night. You kidding me? Anyway. I would rather see that. To be honest with you, I would rather see that fucking match on Monday Night. Little Debbie versus the Keebler Elf versus Pepperidge Farm. Winner could take over fucking Dana Brooks' position in catering, man. I think that would draw millions. I don't know. Let me know. I'll book the match. Anyway. We're coming to the end here. I found this on social media. And I thought this was hilarious, man. Now, WWE had 98% of their television programming in 2020 just end up being horrific. It was awful. I'm not even including the fucking pandemic because I said it from day one. Even without a pandemic, these are the shows that you would have gotten. Found this on social media, man. Most disliked WWE moments for 2020. Now, this is going from most disliked to least disliked, okay? Number one, Goldberg versus Bray Wyatt at Super Showdown. 37,000 dislikes on YouTube. Are you surprised? I know I'm not. What killed Bray Wyatt? Goldberg. What killed The Fiend's career? Goldberg. If you were to look up Goldberg in the dictionary, you'd see Bray Wyatt sitting there in the same fucking category as Goldberg. They go hand in hand. If you were to describe to me Bray Wyatt's 2020 in one word, Goldberg. Roman Reigns emerges as the next challenger for the Universal Championship. 14,000 dislikes. That's when Goldberg defeated Bray Wyatt, by the way, and then they only used that to facilitate Roman Reigns versus Goldberg in a match that never happened. And I hope to God to this day, never happens. 14,000 dislikes. Retribution swarms Braun Strowman in the WWE Thunderdome. 12,000 dislikes. I don't even remember that, but thank you for reminding me of something that I clearly didn't give a shit about. Braun Strowman flips over Van with The Miz and John Morrison inside. 10,000 dislikes. That's when they were on their way to that handicap match at the pay-per-view. And they were spying on him from outside the Performance Center. Yeah. Awful. They were playing jackass-like jokes on Braun Strowman. Roman dishes out dog food to King Corbin. 8,600 dislikes. That was awful. Fox paid $1 billion for wrestlers to feed each other dog food because Vince McMahon is a sick fuck. Asuka versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. 8,000 dislikes. Now, I don't really know which match this was. It might have been the one where Asuka left the match mid-match because Kairi Sane was being beaten up by Bayley in the back. And then she lost the Raw Women's Championship by any means necessary because that was the ruling. So Sasha Banks won the match without actually beating Asuka. And she became a dual champion on that night. I could see why that was hated so much. Because it made Asuka look like a fucking idiot. And by the way, Kairi Sane, immediately after getting beat up by Bayley in the back, went on social media to tweet out that she's leaving WWE. Ha ha ha. You just got beat up in the fucking back and made your best friend lose the fucking title, but you're okay on Twitter. You're okay enough to go on Twitter and tweet out that you're thanking everybody in the WWE. What? Braun Strowman uses Alexa Bliss to entice the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. 7,400 dislikes. That's the way of the game on SmackDown, folks. Yeah, but the Fiend had a great year, though, right? Braun Strowman? Oh, my God. Yeah, a fucking title feud with Braun Strowman for 4 months, man. Give me a break. Retribution wreaks havoc on SmackDown. 7,400 dislikes. That was the initial debut of Retribution, where WWE themselves didn't even know who was under the mask, where they had a bunch of midgets, vanilla midgets, come out here and wreak havoc. Chainsaws and bats and graffiti, whatever the case may be. It was lame. It was lame. Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy brutalize Dominic Mysterio with kendo sticks. 7,300 dislikes. I thought that was fucking, I don't know what the fuck these people are on. That was one of the better moments on Monday Night Raw. Maybe at that point, people were just fed up with the fucking feud. I thought that was great. Rollins actually did very well for the majority of that feud, but it was just, my God, man, it's like WWE took a plunger down our throats and fucking just force-fed us that shit. Liv Morgan and Rusev versus Lana and Bobby Lashley. 6,400 dislikes. I don't know, man. Weddings. Apparently everybody likes a fucking cheesy wedding in pro wrestling. I know I don't. Yet we're getting ready to see one with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford that I'm sure will include some fuckery. Can't wait. Those are the most disliked moments of WWE in 2020, man. My God, you could just feel me reading those titles, man, on the most disliked moments. You could just feel that it was just an awful year. That is a clear summarization of WWE's 2020. Now, it was a year full of garbage, a year full of moments that I wish I could forget. I'm hoping for a better 2021, but I'm not holding my breath. But you guys have asked for it, and I'm giving you my top 10 matches of WWE only. I got to reiterate this because I know somebody wasn't listening in the beginning of the show. I'm not including NXT, and I'm not including AEW. This is WWE only. Top 10 main roster matches of 2020. Coming in at my number 10, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank for the WWE title. Now, Drew McIntyre just had beaten Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view, it was filmed. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view was filmed in the Performance Center, but the pay-per-view itself was built around the Money in the Bank ladder matches that were filmed at Stamford Titan Tower in a cinematic way. Entertaining for the most part, but WWE had no fans. A ladder match needs fans. You're not going to do a Money in the Bank ladder match in front of an empty arena. But I'm not even talking about that. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. They typically, the company, they don't make sense of who gets a title shot and who doesn't get a title shot. Seth Rollins lost to Kevin Owens, which, by the way, comes in at my number 9 match, just to throw that out there. Lost to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 36 in one of the best matches of the night, of the entire show, quite frankly. He lost to Kevin Owens, shows up at the next pay-per-view, gets a title match against Drew McIntyre for losing. But he's the only name on that brand that they could go with, because there really isn't anybody else built up. And that's the reason why they went with Rollins. Now, just based on that aspect, I felt like everything was just forced. It was boring. They tried to make it interesting, but they could not. They built the story around Drew McIntyre winning the title. This is new. This is uncharted territory for him. Seth Rollins pretty much claimed to Drew McIntyre that he's never going to be the guy, that something like this will hold you down. This will be a burden to you. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have any history in this role as the guy at the top, as the champion. Let me take care of that burden for you. It's pretty much what the storyline was. Match was great. Match was great. If you guys want to talk about a match that excelled in an empty arena with no fans, it's that one. I can only imagine if there were fans in that building watching that match. Excellent match. I may think Rollins is a dick, but he's a damn good pro wrestler. I really enjoyed his Messiah gimmick for the most part. He cut some great promos with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, which leads me into my next match, number 9 on my top 10 list. WrestleMania 36, Rollins and Owens. Owens is great. I'm a big fan of KO. I think he's a great talker. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's got it. I think he could be a top-of-the-line type of guy. He could be a main event guy for years to come. And with him in this Roman Reigns thing, I don't know how you don't push him as a top-level guy after he's feuding with Roman Reigns and delivering in every segment he's in. Yes, part of that is Roman. Most of that is Roman, in fact. But Kevin Owens deserves to be a top guy after this feud with Roman. Kevin Owens, excellent at what he does. Rollins, he cut some of the best promos, probably the best promo of his entire life during this part. And it was during those shows where it was just the empty void of the Performance Center, no crowd. And it's got to be difficult to cut a promo with no fucking crowd. But all you got was the raw emotion. There's no fucking bullshit chants. There's no distractions. They could focus on each other direct. The entire match was built on Kevin Owens wanting a WrestleMania moment. And the fact that Rollins has had a career of WrestleMania moments, with one of them being one of the biggest WrestleMania moments in the history of WrestleMania, at WrestleMania 31 when he cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase and won the WWE title. But he claimed that Owens doesn't have a WrestleMania moment, he's a failure, and that he's not going to make a WrestleMania moment against Seth Rollins. And obviously he did. Even in an empty Performance Center, which did not feel like a WrestleMania, they made it feel like a WrestleMania. And without a shadow of a doubt, if this was in front of 90,000 people at Raymond James Stadium, they would have tore the house down. Now, I don't think Kevin Owens would have been able to jump off the WrestleMania logo, but he did say he wanted to jump off the pirate ship. Would WWE have allowed him to do that? I don't know. But he did jump off. WWE legitimately took the WrestleMania logo that was going to be in Raymond James Stadium, put it in the Performance Center, and allowed Kevin Owens to jump off the logo onto Seth Rollins through the announce table, which solidified his WrestleMania moment and a win over Seth Rollins. Which is why I said previously, I don't know why they did Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, because that was legitimately the first feud for Rollins out of WrestleMania, and he was a loser. It's WWE, I'm not surprised. Number 8. So much for being the greatest wrestling match ever. Comes in at number 8. There's 7 others on my list that were better than it, according to me. You might think differently. Edge vs. Randy Orton at Backlash comes in at number 8. Following their WrestleMania match, which was a False Count Anywhere match, I think that they did things backwards. They wanted to start off with that. And that stemmed from Randy Orton really giving an RKO to Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix. That's why this thing ended up being a False Count Anywhere match, because Edge wanted to brutalize Randy Orton for everything that he did. He even put Edge out for weeks following his Royal Rumble, which was one of the best segments of the year. That Edge-Orton segment following his return at the Royal Rumble, where he tricked Edge into feeling some sort of friendship with Randy Orton, excellent stuff. And that's where the crowd becomes such a focus, such an important piece to the puzzle, you know? The WrestleMania match was one of the worst matches of WrestleMania history. In the history of WrestleMania, one of the worst matches ever. I got blocked by Edge on social media for that. And he blasted fans all over the world because of that feeling. And that was the majority of what people thought. It was bad. I don't know what they set out to do, but it was bad. The Backlash match, cheesy as it may have been, entitled Greatest Wrestling Match Ever, which we knew it was never going to live up to that. Never. Especially at this stage of their careers, I doubt it. They're no Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. I can name 3 matches off the top of my fucking head that are better than this fucking match. Yeah, you want to label this one the greatest wrestling match ever. Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano. Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Part 1 at WrestleMania. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Come on. Then you got people like that, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, hyping up that this is going to be the greatest wrestling match ever. And I see it all in their face. They're fucking bullshitting you. Shawn Michaels is critically acclaimed at what he does and is a part of one of the greatest wrestling matches that this sport has fucking seen. And you want to bring him out there to shill some bullshit in which he even doesn't believe. The title itself was fucking cheesy. It was lame. They tried to shoot it differently. They got the old school element. They had an empty arena. They had Howard Finkel announce both Randy Orton and Edge on a obvious recording. They had a live element of cheers and boos, and they had a live tape of crowd chanting. They gave you a live ambiance without actually having a live audience there. I mean, now we're used to it, but when we first seen it then, it was a little fucking ridiculous. It all added to the match in some way. But when it boils down to it, Edge and Randy Orton had a damn good fucking wrestling match. It's not the greatest wrestling match ever. It was a damn good wrestling match. I find it very funny that Randy Orton loves to poke fun at the matches where it's false finish after false finish after false finish, finishers and kick out, finishes and kick out. Yet, he had a match that was produced in that same manner in this match. Spear, kick out. RKO, kick out. You know? Edge signature move, done, kick out. At the end of the day, it was a great wrestling match. I think everybody was very happy with what they produced. I think everybody looked at this as, that's what should have been at WrestleMania. Now, the sad thing is, Edge, he got injured. He's been out since this match. And he's been out all of 2020. I don't know when he's returning. I don't know when his big comeback is supposed to be. We could see it as early as Legends Night on Raw. I don't know. But it looks like WWE was going to have a third match at SummerSlam. That had to be held off. Randy Orton actually won the WWE title in Edge's absence, and everybody thought that was going to be the return. And Edge was going to win the WWE title from Randy Orton. That clearly is not the plan now. This looks to be a feud that could end at WrestleMania this year. Started at WrestleMania in this Edge return. Started at WrestleMania, will end at WrestleMania a year later. But it was a great match. Number 8. The greatest wrestling match ever that never was going to be. Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend. Number 7 at the Royal Rumble. The Fiend in the top 10 best matches of the year? Yeah, I know. But it has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt. It has everything to do with Daniel Bryan. Everything The Fiend did, Rollins, Bryan, you name it. He was going through all of his old foes. Seth Rollins in his days of the Shield. Daniel Bryan obviously was a part of the Wyatt family. Broke out of that spell. Still one of the greatest WrestleMania moments ever, if not the greatest WrestleMania moment ever. And Daniel Bryan also a part of one of the best Monday Night Raw moments ever. In Rhode Island, in that steel cage match with Bray Wyatt, where he had the yes movement in the palm of his hand, man. Unbelievable. You guys know what I'm talking about. Bryan versus The Fiend, man. Everything The Fiend touched, he changed. They did a whole thing about Bryan cutting his beard off, cutting his hair. The Fiend wanted to change Daniel Bryan. And it came down to Bryan really just using the power of, turning away from the dark side. He was a heel for a little bit. And then he developed this love and passion for the yes movement again. He was using the yes movement to challenge The Fiend. It wasn't enough, though. They ended up having a strap match. The Fiend brought Daniel Bryan down into the pits of hell. And they called for a strap match, which ended up making the match better than what it could have ended up being in just a regular one-on-one match. They beat the living shit out of each other at the Royal Rumble. Bryan had those flashes of old Bryan, those baby face come from behind moments in that match where you thought he was going to beat The Fiend, but it was just not enough. And it's funny because Bryan and Bray Wyatt as the Eater of Worlds in 2014, still probably Bray Wyatt's best match to date. And Bray Wyatt, if you look at a generalization of this man's entire WWE career, the top two matches that you're going to look at for Bray Wyatt in his career are going to be Daniel Bryan. Royal Rumble 2014 and Royal Rumble 2020. I'm not the only one who thinks that. It's awesome. That's why I put it on there. It's a great fucking match. And it actually had live human beings there to experience the emotion. Loved it. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens at TLC just last month. Comes in at number 6. I put this match here because I absolutely loved the way that they made Kevin Owens look. I really love the way they made him look. It might have been over the top, but the one thing that I hate is when you throw somebody into a feud and you know they're going to lose this match. Nobody's beating Roman. So at that point, when you know the outcome is that overly predictable, it is your job to make the challenger look good coming out. And I mean not just look good, have a long-lasting effect of looking good. They did that with Kevin Owens. Whatever Paul Heyman did, he did to perfection on that night. Kevin Owens did not die. He even said it in the match. You're going to have to fucking kill me if you're going to get rid of me. And Kevin Owens, everybody's like, this is predictable. Why are they doing KO? They'd really got nobody for Roman. They're getting 2 pay-per-views out of it. Are they going to have a long-lasting Roman Reigns title run? Are they going to continue feeding him opponents? Probably not. By the time they really get going with this thing, they're going to be out of fucking opponents. But Kevin Owens is the right guy for the moment right now. They're getting him to the Royal Rumble. And Kevin Owens, after all of this, Roman said it on SmackDown on Friday. Everything I touches turns to gold. It's true. He did it with Jey Uso. He did it with Braun Strowman. And he did it with Kevin Owens. He's going to do it with Daniel Bryan. He's going to do it with every single person they put in front of him. Whether it's Big E, whether it's Seth Rollins this year, whether they bring Dwayne back and do Rock versus Roman. Everything that Roman touches turns to gold. He is a top-level guy, and nobody is afraid to admit that now. And if he brings everything along, or everybody along with him, his legacy as champion is going to be long-lived. It's going to be looked at in the annals of WWE history as one of the more successful title runs that this company has ever seen. Not only did he get himself over by turning heel, but everybody that he was in the ring with got over. This is why I don't understand the comparisons between Charlotte Flair and Roman Reigns. They say Charlotte is the Roman of the women's division. No, she's not. Not even close. Maybe the old Roman, not this Roman. This Roman actually helps everything he's in, helps everyone he's around, helps everyone he's in the ring with. Charlotte does none of those things. You want a TLC match that embodies tables, ladders, and chairs? That's the match. Unbelievable match. One of the best matches of the year. And they're going to do it again in a stipulation at the Rumble, and Owens is going to be even better off for it. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, IC title final. SmackDown, June 12th. Comes in at number 5. I love tournaments. You guys know this if you've been listening to me. I love tournaments. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles were given a TV block of 45 minutes to tell this match. Obviously, it didn't go 45 minutes. It went about 30 minutes or so with commercials mixed in. But this is the type of match that if you're a young kid, if you are somebody that grew up in the 80s and you admired the Intercontinental title and everything that that title embodied, this is the type of match that brought you back to that day and age and really gave you some hope in WWE getting the IC title over again. This was unbelievable. Bryan and AJ Styles are the personification of what that Intercontinental title should have been. Should be on television. They gave it to AJ Styles. I didn't think they were going to give it to AJ Styles. AJ Styles was actually brought over from Monday Night Raw, and I don't recall if he was actually a member of the active roster on SmackDown permanently at this point. It was more of a situation like we didn't know. They didn't really give us confirmation yet. It more felt like he came over from Raw to fill out this tournament because there was nobody else that WWE could put in there. And they made the storyline around AJ comes over from Raw because the IC title is the only title that he is yet to hold in a singles capacity. Which I was fine with. I just want some explanation. I really do. The match was great. The match embodied everything an IC title match or the IC title should be. Two guys, youthful, at the top of their game, still. A fighting man's championship. Everything you wanted out of this match, you got. Two of the best in the world, the IC title, the working man's title, they delivered. They delivered. AJ Styles won the IC title. Daniel Bryan really, I felt, should have won the match because I felt like it was Sami Zayn who was getting the short end of the stick. He was out because of COVID. He stayed home because of COVID. You knew he was going to eventually come back. They stripped him of the title. That's the reason why they had this tournament. And it was just a natural progression going from Zayn beating Bryan at WrestleMania to Bryan winning the title, and then Zayn coming back and fighting Bryan and ultimately losing to Daniel Bryan. Zayn bringing back the old IC title against Bryan's new IC title. You do a Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon type deal with Zayn and Bryan. I mean, the story told itself, but they went with AJ. And they did the story of the two titles. Zayn came back anyway with the old IC title. They did that portion of the story anyway, minus Daniel Bryan. So I don't know why they didn't give it to Bryan then, but I'm not really going to complain because we got some entertaining shit out of the IC title for at least a couple of months on SmackDown. But Bryan and Styles, IC title final, June 12th, comes in at number 5 on my list. Excellent, excellent match. Which brings me to my number 4. I just said Daniel Bryan was not the winner of that match. Styles was the IC title winner. Jeff Hardy took the title from AJ. They continued their feud. Sami Zayn was always the rightful IC title holder. But he claimed that he was the IC title. WWE never acknowledged him. So you mix up Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles, who are feuding with Sami Zayn, who's being a pest and saying that he's the real IC champion. You put them all in a triple threat match at Clash of Champions, and what do you get? You get one of the best ladder matches in recent memory that WWE has ever produced. And it goes to show you how Jeff Hardy could still excel in this type of environment. It goes to show you how good AJ Styles is in all environments. And it goes to show you how people put down Sami Zayn as just a mid-card guy, really nothing special about him, but man, is he fucking great. Not only is he a great professional wrestler, he is a perfect heel. And that's exactly what he did in this match. I don't know how you look at this match and look at Sami Zayn as not a real top-of-the-line guy for that mid-card. He won the match. WWE never followed it up. They eventually take the title off of Sami Zayn. And now it's on Big E. They did nothing with Sami Zayn following this. Nothing. He was always evading, and he was always running, and he was always cowardly. Up until Big E took the title on Christmas Day. But this match was awesome. These guys absolutely killed each other in this match. And Zayn really showed his heel tendencies, how great he could be as a heel in this match, where he handcuffed, I believe it was AJ Styles, to the ladder and outsmarted both AJ and Jeff Hardy to reclaim that title. I loved it. I was singing its praises as soon as it was over. Sasha Banks and Bayley comes in at number 3, Hell in a Cell. I mean, this doesn't even need an explanation. These two women carried SmackDown and WWE in general for the majority of the pandemic era. They were on Raw. They were on NXT. They were on SmackDown. They did everything. Bayley was SmackDown Women's Champion. Sasha was Tag Team Champions with Bayley. She ended up winning the Raw Women's Championship, and they were both Bayley those straps and Sasha 2 belts. I mean, they ran shit in WWE. Now you got the eventual teases of them breaking up and them kind of costing each other and the jealousy there. Sasha lost her title, which left Bayley still with 2 belts and Sasha with only 1 belt. You knew things were going to go downhill from that moment on. Then they lost the women's tag team titles, and that was it. Bayley still had 1 title, but Sasha had nothing. You knew it was always going to be about that SmackDown Women's Championship. And we all thought Sasha was going to turn on Bayley. But in fact, it was Bayley that turned on Sasha. In the moment, I didn't think that was the right idea. In the moment, I didn't think that was the right creative move to make. Because I always look at Sasha and I think, man, she's a better heel than she is a babyface. But I also don't want to see on the flip side Bayley turn into a babyface, because Bayley has settled into this heel role that she is playing perfectly right now. Bayley may be better than Sasha, and Sasha's the champion. And that whole program was to get Sasha over. This is why I say Bayley for Royal Rumble's got my vote. Give me Bayley and Sasha at WrestleMania. End it. Tie up the loose ends. You did this match. You did this match. It can't be it. You got that 1 match on SmackDown that followed. That can't be all. You got to give them a closing scene. Bayley winning the Rumble. Sasha kind of on her way into a losing streak, a little funk. Because of Bayley. Not only is Bayley dealing with Bianca, but she's also getting under Sasha's skin, coming for the title. Oh, look, you're on a losing streak. I'm going to win the Rumble. And guess what? I'm coming back for you, and I'm going to take my title back because I know right now you're weak. That's what I would do. But Bayley turned on Sasha. And it was a surprise to everybody because everybody expected the other way for it to happen. And it only made Bayley, I feel like that moment made Bayley even better at what she does. Sasha's been great. Sasha's one of the best things in that entire company. She's probably one of the best female performers in the entire world. But Bayley right now is on another level, and somehow Bayley has gotten better. And I hated Bayley turning heel. I thought it was lackluster at best. And now I look at her and I'm like, this entire makeup here is superstar. She plays it so well. Haircut, everybody made fun of the haircut. I don't even recognize the haircut anymore. Who gives a shit? But Sasha and Bayley ran this company. I did not agree with the Hell in a Cell match happening when it did. I always lobbied for something to happen there. I really did. Bayley beat the shit out of Sasha leading into the Hell in a Cell. It always was going to end up Sasha winning the title anyway from Bayley, but in this circumstance, in this situation, I would have had Bayley injure Sasha so badly that it left Sasha out for the rest of the year. Sasha comes back, wins the Royal Rumble. Bayley just runs through everybody on SmackDown, goes to WrestleMania, and we get Sasha winning the Rumble. Bayley thinks she got rid of Sasha. Maybe she finagles something where Sasha gets a bullshit number in the Rumble, comes out at number 3, wins the Rumble, right? And she's the last woman standing, goes to WrestleMania, challenges Bayley, wins the title, and boom, we're done. They could still do something like that, but kind of altered a little bit. But these women went in there. Sasha Banks has been a part of every Hell in a Cell match for the ladies. Charlotte wasn't all that good. People praised it. I didn't like it. Then she went in there with Becky. They tore the fucking house. Match of the night when that happened. Which I think that match was actually better than this. And then in there with Bayley. If there's a master as far as the women go, Sasha is it. Sasha and Bayley come in at number 3. Excellent match. Wasn't really the end. It was more the middle of the road for this story. Then when Sasha finally put Bayley away on SmackDown, that was the end. I hope it's not the end. I'm pulling and I'm advocating for Bayley to win the Royal Rumble. Bayley, Sasha at WrestleMania one more time. I think it's too early for Bianca. Men's Royal Rumble match 2020. I don't need to tell you why this was so great. Brock Lesnar coming in number one got moans and groans from everybody. But man, oh man, when they actually put that plan into motion, this was one of the most exciting Royal Rumbles ever because they booked it perfectly. Everybody that came in up until Drew McIntyre eliminated him, everybody in that Rumble, you thought Lesnar was going to run through you thought Lesnar was going to fucking take every single guy that came out after that buzzer went off and eliminate them. Until it was Ricochet giving him a low blow, and then Drew McIntyre delivered the Claymore over the top rope. How to make a new star. Right there. I haven't seen a crowd erupt like that in a very long time. What a moment. That doesn't happen often. Normally, I don't give props to WWE often. But whoever booked that match was a fucking brilliant human being. That was one of the best Royal Rumble matches in years. It's not one of the best Rumble matches ever. In years. Because they've given us good Rumbles. They gave us bad Rumbles. This was a good Rumble. But something like that doesn't happen often. Where you're the WWE champion and you come in and you enter the Royal Rumble because the storyline, I didn't like it then, but the storyline at the end of it all, it's fucking classic. Lesnar's so dominant that there's nobody on the brand that he could even defend the title against because he's beaten everybody. I'm going to enter the Royal Rumble. Fuck you and fuck WrestleMania. I'm going to win this fucking thing and I'm going to go on a permanent vacation. There's nobody going to take me out. There's nobody on my level. I'm going to show you. And then when it happened the way that it did, goodbye. Goodbye. And then obviously they got to give you the scare at the end when Roman was a babyface. Obviously Roman was in there last with Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre eliminated Roman to win the Royal Rumble. Obviously, we saw Edge come back in one of the best moments of the year. A lot of people were saying Undertaker retiring was the moment of the year. No. Edge coming into the Royal Rumble was the moment of the year. That was the moment of the year, not the Undertaker. Edge looking great, seeing him again, hearing Alter Bridge on the PA system. He looked fantastic in that thing. But the Rumble match, man, awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. And it is actually one of the few Rumbles that I actually went to go back and rewatch over again. Normally, I don't do that. Or I haven't done that with Royal Rumbles. They made me do that this year with that Rumble. Awesome stuff. And my number one match of the entire year for 2020, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Survivor Series comes in at number one. I don't know why WWE decided to give the title to Randy Orton. I don't. And I really went in depth about it. This was a last-minute decision. This was not the intended match. This is what Vince McMahon wanted for a variety of reasons. I don't know what reason is the exact reason. I feel like with WWE taking the title off of Drew McIntyre to give it to Orton, only to give it back to McIntyre, it was partially a ratings ploy to maybe get some interest on Raw, because they don't usually have WWE title matches all that often on Monday Night Raw. I felt like it ruined the momentum of Drew McIntyre because clearly, if you have somebody that's had a successful title run, take the title off of him only to put the title back on him a couple of weeks later, it stops all of his momentum. As far as I'm concerned, Drew McIntyre had his momentum stopped and he had to restart all over again when you did that. I also think that with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns being the match originally, I feel like, and I could be wrong on this, but this is how I feel. With Roman Reigns and Randy Orton being originally announced because of the Raw versus SmackDown theme, World Champion versus World Champion, Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton was the original match. I feel like WWE would not be able to let Roman be Roman with Randy. Everything he said to Drew in that promo where they sat down and signed the contract, everything he said to Drew McIntyre, he would never be able to say to Roman and actually mean it. But if Drew is sitting in that position, then Roman saying it to Drew makes a lot more sense. He's able to get across his character. He would not be the head of the table if he's in there with Randy Orton. He's not. He's not the tribal chief. He's not the head of the table. He is not going to tell Randy Orton that he's, lucky to be on the island of relevancy. You're going to tell that to Randy Orton? I doubt that highly. And two heels going at it at Survivor Series. Roman is the guy that you want to build up, not Randy. Randy's a heel, a classic heel, an all-time great heel. Roman's not going to be able to do what he could do as a heel with Randy. Roman may be cheered if in there with Randy. So I feel like there's a mixture of things that they take into consideration here, and they made the change. Drew McIntyre was put in there, and I didn't really understand it. I thought it was actually detrimental to Drew McIntyre. But man, oh man, if you're talking about it being detrimental, it is detrimental by a very minuscule amount. They went in there and they told a story that will set the foundation for years to come, that when these two are in the ring again, that it's going to be even more important, and they're going to use this match as a foundation and the story that this match told to tell the next story. They ended up producing a fucking classic. Brock Lesnar, every time he was the WWE champion, had these matches at Survivor Series with AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan. Even his match against Balor at the Royal Rumble a couple years ago. He works better with the smaller guys. That was kind of reserved for Brock Lesnar to have his breakout match of the year, right? I felt like we weren't going to get that this year. I'm like, look at Drew. Drew's good, but has he ever delivered a match of the year classic? Roman is excellent, but is he a match of the year number one type guy? Are these two styles going to clash together? Man, did they prove me wrong. The story that was told on that night was absolutely incredible. And something that I would welcome again with open arms if the situation and the circumstances are correct. It's something that you look back on, and it happened for a bunch of bullshit reasons, because plans were changed, someone changed their mind, whatever reason, it may have been, but there was no title on the line. Drew McIntyre lost some momentum. Roman Reigns was always the type of guy they wanted to continue building. Drew McIntyre had to take a back seat. It's all going to be a moment in time when Roman is at a level that he can no longer advance. And Drew McIntyre is going to be right there. There was no title on the line here. This was not really for anything. But what this did was position, when this match happens again, position both of these guys the next time we get back to this for it to be in Drew McIntyre's favor. Now, normally, my buddy Tubby Emo on Twitter, he usually brings up these points in these situations to me where you see something happen and you immediately shit on it without really thinking. And that moment may be used 2-3 years down the line, and they may revisit that. And they may use this one moment somewhere down the line when it really matters most. Now, normally I don't give WWE that type of credit. But if he came and told me that everything you seen there was seeds planted for 2-3 years down the line, and everything's gonna blossom into this, and it's gonna materialize into that. Normally, I'd shit on that type of opinion. WWE has no plans. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Everything happens by chance. Everything happens out of fucking sheer luck, or WWE pulls shit from the ass crack of their fucking pants. Whatever. If someone told me that this is going to be the stage for what's to come 2-3 years from now, I would absolutely agree with them. You know, I laughed at Triple H saying that this could be the Rock Austin of this current generation, WWE. I didn't really take it as, oh, look, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns are the Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin as far as level of, WWE superstar, because they're not. Nobody will ever be at that level of WWE superstar. But what it really meant was two guys positioning themselves for the top of their game, for the top spot in the company in which they are competing in right now. That's what he meant. And that's exactly what we got out of that match. And it's only going to be something that we look at as, hey, these guys did it. I'm excited to see it happen again. Which one's going to come out on top? Who's going to be number one? It was Roman then. Is it going to be Drew now? Awesome match. My number one WWE main roster match of the entire year. Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns at the Survivor Series. Guys, that is it. That is it. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you got a lot out of this first episode of the new year. I didn't really expect to go this long, but when you get me started, listen, man, I could talk your fucking ear off. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That is Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And I will see you all right back here for a brand new year and a brand new week of WWE content, guys. Monday Night Raw Legends Night is the first Raw of the year. We'll talk about it on Monday Live. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Hit that thumbs up. And I'll see you right back here on Off the Script Monday night for Legends Night on Raw. See you guys later.